exclusively found in a particular area. That is, you do not get to see them in multiple areas. It's only in specific areas they live. And this type of animals are called endemic species. So what are endemic species? So these are species which are unique to specific geographic locations. So that means you find the species only in certain specific locations. Like they are not very common to multiple areas. So only certain locations. So let us look at some examples of endemic species. For example, if we talk about the Panchmari National Park. So there, in terms of the flora, so this is Panchmari National Park, and here in terms of the plants, that is the flora, you have the sal tree, you have the wild mango tree, and these are endemic species. So basically sal tree, wild mango tree, they are very much unique to this specific location of Panchmari National Park. Similarly, if you talk about the fauna of this area, so you have the giant squirrel, you also have the flying squirrel, which are again endemic species for this particular area. Similarly, if you talk about the Kaziranga National Park. So in Kaziranga National Park, if you talk about the flora, you have the elephant grass and the marshland, which are endemic species of Kaziranga National Park. Elephant grass and marshland. And if you talk about the fauna, the Indian rhinoceros, swamp deer, wild water buffalo, high density of tigers. So these are some of these are parts of the fauna of the Kaziranga National Park. So the conclusion is that when we talk about endemic species, these are species which are unique to geographic location. For example, the giant flying squirrel is an endemic species of Panchmari National Park. Now, the moment we talk about endemic species, one species that very commonly comes to our mind is the dinosaurs, and we say that they do not exist anymore. We just see them in movies and in fictional stories, but they do not exist anymore. So why don't we see them? Because they have become totally extinct. Not a single organism of dinosaurs exists anymore. So they have totally become extinct. So endemic species are at higher risk of extinction. That's because the endemic species are located in a small area, within a small geographic area they are located. So if something wrong happens in that particular area, then the endemic species might become extinct. So they are always at a higher risk of extinction. Now, why are endemic species at higher risks of extinction? First reason is loss of habitat. Now, loss of habitat might happen due to forest fires or due to human exploitation. Now, since these species are dependent only on one specific habitat, so if that habitat is lost, you do not have those species anywhere else. So that ways endemic species are at higher risk. Introduction of new species into the area. So new species might compete with the existing endemic species, or there is also a possibility that the new species might come and they might attack the existing endemic species. Now, the major reason is that endemic species are located only in a specific geographic area. So anything goes wrong with that geographic area, the endemic species are gone. So therefore, they are always at higher risk of extinction. Now, the moment we talk about extinction, all those animals nearing extinction, that means all those animals which have the threat of extinction, they are called endangered animals. For example, the Bengal tiger. In fact, just a handful of Bengal tigers exist now, so that their numbers have reduced a lot, which shows that they are nearing extinction. Asian elephant, snow leopard, black rhino, chimpanzee, blue whale, these are all examples of endangered animals whose population is gradually decreasing and they are nearing extinction. Now, There are harmful effects as well as far as species extinction is concerned. Like it disturbs the food chain, because if you look at the food chain, every living organism in some way or the other is dependent on other organisms. Now, when one particular species becomes extinct, what happens? The food chain gets disturbed, because there might be other species which were dependent on this species for their food. There might be some species which were eaten up by these species as food. So now both of these get disturbed. So overall the food chain gets disturbed. The ecosystem gets affected. Now when we talk about the ecosystem, in ecosystem we have plants, animals, microbes, plus the abiotic components like soil, water, air. So, and there are interactions amongst all of these, the biotic and abiotic components. Now, when out of these components, certain species become extinct, what happens? Then the dependency between the components of the ecosystem gets affected, and therefore the entire ecosystem is adversely affected, because for a productive ecosystem, it is always good to maintain a nice balance between the components of the ecosystem. If extinction continues, there will be a day when no life form would exist on Earth. So that's quite obvious, right? So Earth is unique because of the existence of various life forms. Now, today, maybe one species is becoming extinct. Tomorrow, 2 more species will become extinct. Day after tomorrow, 5 more species will become extinct. So gradually, more number of species becoming extinct will actually leave the Earth with lesser number of life forms. So there might be a day when no life form exists on the Earth. So the planet Earth would no more be unique. So that is why it is high time that we take special care to prevent species extinction. Now the question is, how do extinctions affect us? So right now we are talking about the harmful effects of extinction, but the harmful effects to the environment as such, to the entire ecosystem, to the planet Earth. And this impact at the end comes to us, because we are a part of this planet Earth. We are a part of this ecosystem. We are a part of the food chain. So all of these impact us. Now, knowing these harmful effects, it is high time now that we should save the endangered species. And how can we do that? Stop hunting and killing animals. In fact, that is why the protected areas have been created, just to protect the animals from the human activities. Protect their habitat. So let's ensure that we do not spoil habitat of any animal for that matter. Do not spoil the surrounding environment. So keep doing these small and simple things. We can ensure that we are safe. All other animals and plant species are also safe, and we can